The people are not happy with their governments. But this does not mean they want to welcome to Trump or Netanyahu. Islamic Republic changed. It preserved sovereignty, independence, anti-Zionism, anti-imperialism on one side, but on the other side, the same as many Muslim majority countries, they did not preserve democracy, human rights, and freedom. Ayatollah Khomeini was above all of them. He alarmed about the danger of Israel before revolution, 15 years before revolution. There was no velayat-e in him on that time. Or he did not mention, I do not want to say, in Saudi Arabia, we do not have election at all, any election, no election. In Qatar, no election. In Oman, so I want to say, and in Bahrain, and so on. So we have some type of democracy in Iran in the level that Iranian could elect.
Post the war, how does velayat-e, manifest itself in the government, and how does it impact what Iran becomes?
Khatami, reformist president. Hassan Rouhani, moderate president. Masoud Pezeshkian, also weak reformist president, but reformist. This is Sharia. And what is Sharia? Islamic law. What is Islamic law? What we have, for example, 10 centuries ago, 12 centuries ago. Okay, it does not work today. Iranian family, women, children, men came to the bridge. Okay, you want to bomb this? You should start with us. Also, they are not happy with their governments, but they're defending their country.
Professor Mohsen Kadivar, thank you very much. It's my first time speaking to a mujtahid or an ayatollah.
Thank you so much for your patience and your good questions. And also, I do not call ayatollah or anything. I Mohsen Kadivar, I think this is better.
Okay, I'm just going to clap. 3, 2, 1. Hi, good day. Welcome to another episode of Unapologetic. I'm your host, Ashfaq Kareem. And I'm very honored today to speak to Professor Mohsen Kadivar. Professor, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Professor, I've never spoken to someone with the title of mujtahid before, and I'm sure many people watching the audience, the people watching this, some of them will instantly know what a mujtahid is, others will not know at all. So I'm very honored to speak to you. Professor Mohsen Kadivar, we're speaking to him because he's Iranian. He's currently living in exile. He's been in exile since 2007. He's a professor at Duke University. He's a mujtahid, so he's a scholar, an Iranian Shia scholar. And we're speaking to him about a lot of things today. We're speaking to him about, the Iranian state, how it was formed as an Islamic Republic, his own criticisms of that state, which actually stem from inside Shia theology. And, and Professor, you have the unique distinction of being arrested by the Shah and, when he was in charge. You also have been arrested by the Islamic Republic and Ayatollah Khamenei when he was in charge. And you also are fiercely anti-imperial and stand against US intervention and Israeli aggression and other interventions in the region. That may be confusing to some people who are looking at this podcast. It isn't confusing to me, and obviously it's not confusing to you. But why don't you explain to us how the fact that you got arrested by those two entities and stand against US aggression all mean that you actually have a very coherent value system and not a contradictory one?
So it's my pleasure to talk with you and Middle East Eye. So it's a good question, I think, also a starting question. I was seeking justice, freedom, democracy, rule of law in all of my life. I think I continue in the same way. But something changed. And this confusion that you mentioned, because of changing, for example, on the state in Iran. Before revolution, I think I was so young, freshman in university, engineering, student of engineering. And okay, on that time, it was so natural for a student like me in 18, 19 years old and seeking freedom, democracy, we did not find in Iran on that time. Also, it was allied to US and Israel too. So I was arrested for a demonstration after coming from a mosque in Shiraz, my city on that time, and arrested by Savak. So I went to Adilabad.
So Savak was the internal security of the Shah, right?
Yes,
The
correct.
secret police, yes.
And it was established by Mossad and CIA in the time of Shah. After coup of 1953, we had a democratic, secular government in Iran. Mohammad Mossadegh, by a coup by MI6 and CIA, fell down, and he nationalized Iranian oil industry. For 25 years, quarter of century, US imposed dictatorship in Iran. It was so clear. And after Islamic Republic, I supported the Islamic Revolution. I was among many people, 98% of people or more than this, supporting the revolution. I think the aims of revolution were excellent. It was independence, sovereignty, freedom, and also on that time it was said Islamic governance and change to Islamic Republic. And we remember, okay, something for Sunni Muslims, we can say the governance or all Muslims, governance of the Prophet or the righteous Caliph, and for Shia also in addition, especially to governance of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. So it was so good for everyone, and we understood this very well. But gradually, Islamic Republic changed. The problem is this. It means that it preserved sovereignty, independence, anti-Zionism, anti-imperialism on one side, but on the other side, the same as many Muslim majority countries, they did not preserve democracy, human rights, and freedom. In the second case, not the first case, I did not challenge Islamic Republic for its sovereignty or anti-imperialism or so on. But my criticism, and many like me, was about the second aims of revolution. That was democracy, human rights, and rule of law. So I was arrested 20 years after the first arrest when I was lecturer in universities in Tehran, and it was because of that. I can say I'm also in the same way. I supporting the position of Iranian governments in their anti-imperialism, anti-Zionism, sovereignty, independence, and so on. I do not have any problem with this case. But on the other side, this is the problem of most of countries in the Middle East, or this is the problem of democracy, the problem of this. And I'm struggling for achieving more democracy, more freedom, more human rights, more human dignity in Iran. And when I compare from the beginning, I'm telling you, when I compare Iran in its worst situation, it's much better than many of Persian Gulf countries. It means that we do not find democracy in almost all of these countries. Democracy, the rate of democracy in Iran, in this its worst situation, it's above them. So it means that my criticism is from this viewpoint, not from any other viewpoint. But because I know that you have more detailed question, I stop it here to continue.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, I mean we hope to have a very long discussion, as mentioned. Obviously, we speak into at a time at the moment. There's a very iffish ceasefire in place between the U.S. and Iran, and so obviously it's a timely discussion because right now Iranian sovereignty is trying to be usurped by the U.S. and Israeli aggression, and of course I mean what's your comments on that? How do you think the Islamic Republic has responded to the aggression from Israel and the USA. It also comes at an interesting time because there has been just recently, just 3 months before this, there's been protests against the government. Many people, in fact, the CIA and Mossad agents have said themselves that they had a hand to play in that. So given all of this, but what's currently happening in your country and outside of your country, what's your comments on that before we get into a much more deeper discussion, which is about theology and how Iran came about and a lot of your older experiences?
I had many speeches, interviews, and I wrote many pieces in support of Iran. I think in this aggression, I absolutely support Iranian situation. And I think most of Iranians, also Iranian citizens, support Islamic Republic in this situation. I separate because this war, this aggression was against Iran's soul. What was against Iranian people, not only against Islamic Republic of Iran. This is so important. And I understand in this issue, I also, as a critic of Islamic Republic, I support Iranian people, Iranian sovereignty, Iran's integrity, and also the regime that defends Iranian people. Very clearly, I support them on this position. Why? Because I think aggression of US and Israel for 2 times in less than about 9 months, it's modern barbarism. They do not respect international law. So this was through the negotiation between Iran and US. US betrayed diplomacy. President Trump was against any type of diplomacy. I'm afraid in this time also he would do the same thing. I'm so suspicious about negotiation, about successful negotiation. I hope to be successful, but by the last news that I checked this morning, I do not know what happened in the future. I hope that we have seized permanent ceasefire with guarantee that there is no new aggression from Israel and US against Iran. Unfortunately, the essence of Israel is anti-peace. Anytime that Iran and US was very close to ceasefire or negotiation or agreement, they made something wrong to destroy this agreement. And 2 of 3 members of US team in this, also in Islamabad and Pakistan. So they're Zionists and close to Israel, and I'm not sure that what will they do. But we hope that we need ceasefire for the, I think, benefit of both sides. Most of Iranians are against war. Most of Americans are against war, 63% by yesterday. So it means that 2/3 of Americans are against this war. And most of Iranians also against this war. So this is benefit for both sides. I hope that we have a permanent ceasefire. Everything depends to President Trump and also about Israel that I do not know anything about them.
Okay. Now, I've kind of mentioned this again, but I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. So the aim of this discussion is it's really to try to understand the 47 years of the Islamic Republic, but also how it came into existence. You've mentioned that, there was a US-backed dictatorship through the Shah that was ruling Iran before that for, since 53 to 79. Before that, there was Mossadegh. Before that, there was, a lot of again, the Pahlavis were in charge before Mossadegh. There was efforts by the British before the Americans to kind of control Iran, for both imperialistic reasons, colonization, but also for its oil. Now, specifically, I'm speaking to you because, you are a mujtahid. You studied in Qom for 17 years. This was after you were arrested by the Pahlavis, and then 2 years after you studied for 17 years, you were arrested again. Before we get into that discussion and try to understand your critique of the Islamic Republic from a religious perspective, because you're critiquing it from the soul of religion, right? Not from outside, not from a communist lens or a socialist lens, or from a supporter of the Shah or a supporter of something else. You're critiquing it from religion. So before we go there, for our audience, but also, I mean, for myself, let's try to understand the structure of the Iranian state and how it's been structured according to Shia theology, right? So I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, but if you think I'm asking the incorrect questions to understand this, please say, maybe we need to understand something first. So I'm just going to start by saying, prior to 1979, what was sort of the hierarchy and standing of how Shia communities were structured? What were the clerical ranks? You, for example, are a mujtahid. What's a mujtahid? What's an Ayatollah? Is there a rank that's higher than an Ayatollah? How was Khomeini elected? These are some of the big questions, but just help us understand how the society is structured pre-1979 and how Khomeini then changed that through the Islamic Revolution.
If you want to understand deeply the complex of Iran's problem, because Iran is a complex for many outsiders, Westerners, and also some Sunni Muslims too, because there are many misunderstandings in the media. First of all, religion is only one element in any societies, including Iran. It's not the only element, not the most important element. We have political, economic, cultural, social elements. When we want to understand this complexity, we should consider all of these elements together. But one of them is culture and religion. In Iran, so we can say that more than 90% of Iranians are Shiite Muslims. Ja'fari or Isna Ashari, 12ers Shiites. Less than 10%, because we do not have accurate or precise statistics on this issue. Less than 10% are Sunni Muslims. Mostly they are living in the borders in Baluchistan, Sistan, Kurdistan, and so on. So
this is in the north and the northwest of the country?
East of the country and west of the country.
Okay.
In the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan, and also on the other side, Kurdistan, because we have 4 parts. Kurdistan were divided by UK to 4 parts in Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey. 1 part in Iran. And I have many good friends among them, especially among Sunni Kurds. So I wrote something about in Ahmad Muftizadeh that he's the leader of them, and I admired him. So this is about Sunnis. Less than 1% of Iranians are people of the book, or Ahlul Kitab, means Jews or Christians or Zoroastrian. Less than 1%. And they have members in the parliament. In Zoroastrian, 2 members from Christian Armenia, and 1 from Jewish society, Jewish community. They have members before revolution, after revolution. They had members in the parliament, Iranian parliament. This is about Iranian population. So we have diversity among Shiites. We have conservatives. We have reformists. We have silentists. We have all types of Shiites there. In Shiite seminary, there is hierarchy. It's about the highest level. It is called Ayatollah or Grand Ayatollah. Someone like, for example, Ayatollah Sistani in Najaf. So he's among the highest level Shiite authority. So Sunni and Shiite, they're not like Catholic Christians. We do not have Pope. In the same time, we have different mujtahids, not one. So we have many mujtahids in seminary. We have many mujtahids in Najaf seminaries. These 2 seminaries are the greatest seminaries for Shiite. One in Iran.
And Qum is in Iran and Najaf is in Iraq, yes.
In Iraq. Most of also these mujtahids in Iraq, they're non-Arabs. Iranian, Pakistanis, Afghanis, Shiite also, but different nationalities. And in Iran also, we have some, in Shiite authorities, they have Ayatollah Wahid Khorasani, Ayatollah Shobeiri Zanjani, Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi, and the others. So they are something like Ayatollah Sistani. The mujtahid also, when we call Ayatollah, this is for out of seminaries. In seminaries, they called ourselves Agha, means sir, nothing else. It means that there is no title, no official title inside the seminary. Everyone is Sheikh or Sayyid, Agha, sir, and so on. But when they go out of seminaries, the people call them some different titles. Those who have the certificate of ijtihad, they're qualified to be called Ayatollah. Those who have,
So you are an Ayatollah because I mean you have
I'm
the certificate in
qualified to do
ijtihad.
this, but I do not use this because I do not have any job in this way. So this is something. The second level, they're called Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin. Lower than
So these are below the Ayatollahs,
below
yes.
Ayatollah. And lower than that, it's called Hujjatul Islam. So also, it's also in this century. For example, 120 years ago, we did not have this. Hujjatul Islam on that time was the same as Ayatollah today. So this is, I want to say, to emphasize on this point, this happened in this century, or maybe a century and 20 years, not more. There is no official hierarchy in this case. Everything depends on mujtahid and also which mujtahid has more followers. Those who have followers called marja' taqlid or Shiite authorities.
So that's marja' taqlid, right?
Yes, marja' taqlid, it means the source of emulation, or those who people who follow them. This is something that, but all of them are mujtahid, all of them are faqih, and people are permitted to follow each of them. This is hierarchy that we have. Maybe the most permanent Shiite authority in last century was Ayatollah Burujerdi, before Ayatollah Khomeini, much higher than everyone that I remember. He was the teacher of my teachers, Ayatollah Burujerdi. He was in Qom. He was the student of Akhund Khorasani from Najaf. Also, he was a very grand Ayatollah there. And after that, we have several other Shiite authorities. After this of Ayatollah Burujerdi, also we have several different Ayatollahs. One of them was Ayatollah Khomeini, the other one by Ayatollah Khoi, that he was in Najaf. Ayatollah Khoi was more silentist, quietist. Ayatollah Khomeini was different. So the only was this, but in the knowledge, both of them were learned mujtahids. I do not want to say anything, and it's important. I was a student of Ayatollah Khomeini. I was a student of Ayatollah Montazeri. Ayatollah Montazeri was a student of Ayatollah Burujerdi, and Ayatollah Khomeini was. Because of it, he was in the chain of my teachers. I respect him from this. I learned a lot from him. Also, I have some criticism to him too. So this is, I'm fair about him and the others. And you asked me about Ayatollah Khomeini to explain more.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, before we go into velayat-e faqih and your criticisms of Ayatollah Khomeini, so in 1979, when the Iranian Revolution occurs, who at the time in both Iraq and in Iran, in Najaf and Qum, are sort of the marja' taqlid, I think that's how you say it. Who at the time are those people? And is Khomeini at that point one of the marja' taqlid, or is he slightly below marja' taqlid?
He was marja'. He was marja'. It means that in the death of Ayatollah Burujerdi, that it was about 17 years before revolution. 17 years before revolution. We had in Iran, we have several maraja' taqlid. One of them was Ayatollah Khomeini, the other one was Ayatollah Shariat Madari, the other one was Ayatollah Gul Paigani, the other one was Ayatollah Marashi Najafi. Four of them were above them. This is four in Iran. In Najaf, first we have Ayatollah Sayyid Mohsen Hakim, we have Ayatollah Sayyid Abul Qasim Khoi. Also the others, but they were greater marja'. In the time of revolution, Ayatollah Hakim passed away. Ayatollah Khoi was in Najaf. But we have other Ayatollahs in Tehran, 5 or 6 grand Ayatollahs on that time. Ayatollah Khomeini was among them more revolutionary, more anti-imperialist, more anti-Zionist. He was distinguished because of his political situation. Also, because of his criticism to Shah, Iranian monarch on that time, he was exiled to, first of all, to Bursa in Turkey. After 1 year, he traveled to Najaf in Iraq, and for 15 years, he was in exile. So it was another advantage for him because he was in exile. And most of Iranian, also non-religious people, it's very important, non-religious, supported him because of his anti-Zionist, anti-imperialist, anti-despotic position of him. Also, the others somehow had the same situation, but Ayatollah Khomeini was above all of them in these situations, in this, I think, political resistance against dictatorship of Shah, king, and also against imperialism and against Zionism and against Israel. I want to say that Ayatollah Khomeini was one of the leading Muslim scholars among Sunni and Shiite on this position, leading scholar of this. He alarmed about the danger of Israel before revolution, 15 years before revolution. It's not about when he came to power. And many Iranian citizens, including all Iranian Marxists, interesting, all Iranian Marxists and atheists also supported him, not because of velayat-e, because of exactly his political situation, resistance against imperialism. This is my understanding on that time. And also I remember many Iranian authors, atheist authors, not religious authors, not Shiite Sunni, did not practice Islam at all, but they supported him because of this position that he had. So he was a learned mujtahid too. I want to say that it's not only because of his political issue, but he has this. It means that he has two dimensions, religious dimension and also political dimension. Many Iranians supported him only because of his religious authority. Also, some of them because of both. Some of non-religious persons supported him because of his political position. It's by 1979.
Okay. So now we're going to come to the issue of velayat-e, right? So how does Khomeini develop this theory? And how does it fundamentally change, or does it change fundamentally, Shia sort of tradition or Shia theology? And what is the resistance to this idea within, the other mujtahids, or if there is resistance? And how does that all play out? Because I think many of us who learn about Khomeini or learn about history, we know that he takes power in 1979. Soon afterwards, we have the embassy, the US embassy, the hostage crisis, and then the war in Iraq starts. And we know that there was a crackdown against socialists and communists and other dissenters. But was there also a dissent, people who were dissenting what Khomeini was doing, while he was obviously very popular because of the reasons you just said, anti-imperial positions, but was there also some dissent among, from a theological perspective?
Yes, this is an important question. I wrote several books and I researched, I think, on this for several years and reached to a conclusion on this position. Velayat-e or guardianship of jurist council. This is something that we can find in all Muslim jurists, Sunni and Shiite, but in different viewpoints. I start with some Sunni approaches to this. Maybe Al-Mawardi in his very famous book Al-Ahkam al-Sultaniyya, when he want to give us the list of the conditions of Islamic ruler, he mentioned he should be mujtahid, he should be knowledgeable in this issue. But it was not preserved through the centuries. It means that It was okay if he observed it, but not mujtahid. Also, among the modern Sunni scholars, I can mention Muhammad Rashid Rada. He is the famous student of Muhammad Abduh. Also, he mentioned something like this, close to this, not exactly this, because I heard sometimes, no, this is only purely Shiite. I want to say knowledge of fiqh, to be faqih, is a priority for the ruler among Muslims. But among Shiites, jumping to the Shiites, we have this concept from the beginning of Shiite jurisprudence, fiqh, in the name of velayat-e, but it was not political. It was more social in social affairs. If we have a minor in a city, who should take care of that minor? It was said faqih. Something that mayors are doing this in our modern time. On that time, we did not have nation state. So nation state, the job of nation state was on the shoulder of fuqaha, not one faqih, different jurists. Any jurist in its location, in its region, something like this. But in the time of Safavid, it means 5 centuries ago, 15 centuries, something like this, there was stated by some of Shia jurists on that time that for the first time we had Shiite ruler in Iran. Before that, most of Iranians were Sunni by 15th century.
So
So
is this just to clarify for audience? So this is when the Safavid dynasty takes over Iran, right?
yes,
Or
that is
what's
very
now
good.
Iran?
Yes, because there, I think, challenges with Ottomans in Turkey on that time. So they want to emphasize more on a different identity for Iranians. And Shiism against Sunnism of Ottomans were highlighted in the time of Safavids. Most of Iranians accepted this and they did not have any problem. I think they were devotee of Ahlul Bayt and so on. So something happened. And after that, it was said, okay, before that, they wait for appearance of hidden imam to be followed. After this time, they talk, okay, when we have Shiite king in power, we should change our political theory. So some of them wrote that about the political, I think, approach to Velayat al-Faqih. It was started on that time. 2 centuries later, in the time of Qajar dynasty, also for the first time, we have Muhaqqiq al-Naraqi. He wrote a book in the name of Awaid al-Ayyam. Maybe he was the most famous Shiite jurist that wrote about Velayat al-Faqih from political side. Tadbir al-Din wa dunya. It means also political administration and also religious arrangement. This is the only point that he mentioned. It was expanded after him. And his student, Sheikh Murtaza Ansari, that among Shias is called al Sheikh al-Azam, so permanent, he disbelieved in Velayat al-Faqih. Very important. Disbelieved in political Velayat al-Faqih. After him, his student, Akhund Khurasani, he was the spiritual leader of constitutional movement in Iran in 1906 against the monarch dynasty on that time, monarchs, Qajar monarchy on that time, and despotism on that time. He was also against all types of political velayat al-faqih. I want to say many permanent Shiite authorities disbelieve in political velayat al-faqih. But some of
And
them,
is this because this is being the historical position?
no,
What's the reasoning?
it's more because of there is no evidence for they did not find any evidence
Okay,
for it in Islamic sources,
so
especially
it's an unorthodox position
yes, or
to invent this thing, Vilayat
Sunnah
al-Faqih.
or something like this. Because of it, it was not supported by them. But some of them, also few of them, supported. So among the most permanent distinguished of them, Sahibul Jawahir, Sheikh al-Najafi. Also, he supported it. He was a Shiite authority too, supported Velayatul Faqih, and he said,
And he was from Najaf, right? Which is interesting
yes,
because
Najaf, yes. And also, when he said, anyone who disbelieves in Velayatul Faqih, he does not know anything about fiqh. I want to say this is disagreement about Shiite authorities about this. Ayatollah Khomeini himself wrote when he was young in a book in the name of Kashf Asrar in Persian in the time of very, very old. I think on that time he was something like very young on that time. He wrote, we do not have consensus on this subject, on Velayatul Faqih. It was his in early time he wrote it. But about 10 years before revolution, he started his teaching. This part he in the time of teaching Kitabul Bay, it means sale, and in that part they said that this is routinely all mujtahids, all fuqaha discuss the term of Velayatul Faqih, who has guardianship on the minors in the time of buy and selling. It started by that, expanded this discussion to political Velayatul Faqih. I think Ayatollah Khomeini on that time, it was the time the situation is so important, and it was this part of his discussions recorded, and after that printed in Persian, translated to Arabic, and it was in the name of Hukumatul Islamiyya or Velayatul Faqih, guardianship of the jurist. It was a theory on him, and his theory was against monarch, against Zionism, against imperialism, and also he tried to expand to what is the best ruling. He said the best ruling of a Muslim country, it should be managed by a jurist. This is what he said. On that time, he was not alone. Ayatollah Gulpaigani, Ayatollah Shariat Madari, Ayatollah Marashi Najafi, all of them were in Qum. In the same time, some of them few months before him supported the same idea. I want to say,
okay, so this is, it sounds like this was very much because there was a political environment which was anti-Shah.
great, correct,
Right.
yes, anti-Shah. All of them also religiously reached to same point. I want to say this is not innovation of Ayatollah Khomeini. After my research, okay, few months before him or few weeks before him, it means they were not inspired by Khomeini. It jumped to all of their minds. This is the best situation for Iranians' problem on that time, according to their knowledge. They wrote their books in support of Velayat-e Faqih. And after that, when Ayatollah Khomeini went to Paris, Nofl Chateau, so for the first time, Iranian heard from him directly, not only Iranian, the world. He made more than 200 international interviews. He was asked about the future administration of Iran, the type of governance in Iran. All the time he said, okay, Islamic Republic. And in Figaro, for the first time, interview with Figaro, for the first time he mentioned the Islamic Republic. When he was asked, what do you mean by Islamic Republic? Never, ever. On those few months that he was in Paris, he did not use the term of Velayatul Faqih, guardianship of the jurist. He was so, I think, he spoke in a diplomatic way. When he was asked, okay, or the type of this governance, like the type of Prophet Muhammad's governance, the type of Imam Ali governance, justice. And he was asked, we will have freedom for everyone. You can criticize the governments, the same as in the Righteous Caliph. He mentioned this in the mosque very freely, without any problem. We have also Marxists can have their ideas, but without betrayal. This is what he mentioned. And we preserve the rights of everyone. I want to say Iranian, including me, because on that time I did not read his book on Velayatul Faqih as a student, 18, 19 years old. And also I read it a few months after revolution. but only what I learned from that book: anti-monarchy, anti-Zionism, anti-imperialism. I did not understand anything about his religious argument in support of this and absolute or velayat-e or something like this. I think most of us, most of Iranians were in the same way. And I wrote that Imam of Paris means Ayatollah Khomeini in Paris, was someone that was supported by most of Iranians. There was no velayat-e in him on that time. Or he did not mention, I do not want to say, not in his mind, he did not mention. And when he returned to Iran, also the first draft of Iranian constitution prepared in his office. There was nothing about velayat-e in that draft. He confirmed it, not only him, but also other grand ayatollahs in Qom, Ulpaygani, Shariat Madari, Najafi, all of them confirmed this without any criticism. Then we have assembly of experts for Iranian constitution started. The head of that was my teacher, Ayatollah Muntazeri. Also on that time, he supported Ayatollah Khomeini and the concept of velayat al-faqih. And also the vice director of that assembly was Ayatollah Dr. Beheshti, Said Muhammad Beheshti. He was other student of Ayatollah Khomeini. He was in Hamburg for several years. He knew English, Germany, and others. And both of these two, Muntazir and Beheshti, I think, and they were supported by a strong majority of assembly of experts that most of them were clergies. They imposed velayat al-faqih in Iranian constitution.
Okay, so what's the time frame in terms of like from 79 before velayat al-faqih becomes
exactly 1979, December
so
of 1979, because February 1979 Iran revolution, Islamic Republic started. It was end of 1979, beginning of 1980.
Okay, so about 10 months. So in about 10 months, the new constitution went from not having velayat al-faqih to having it.
Yes.
Now, now there's two questions I want to ask because I want to give you space to speak after that. So when this pitches up in the constitution, does it raise any alarm bells? Do people say, oh, what's going on? Or is there first like some silent resistance to it? And I'm guessing there's also more overt resistance, which has got nothing to do with velayat al-faqih, which has got to do with some people feeling excluded, etc., right? So what's the initial resistance to the state, both because of velayat al-faqih and not? But then how does velayat al-faqih start to change the state in terms of its structure, and what's its legacy sort of in the first years, in the first decade of the Islamic revolution?
I think on that time, most of the people supported Ayatollah Khomeini in a charismatic way. More than 90%. A strong majority supported him, not because of velayat al-faqih, not because of, I think overall they supported him. But when the concept of velayat al-faqih came to Iranian constitution, it changed everything. The map of Iranians' politics changed deeply. And so we have hybrid constitution. On one side, it was accepted in this constitution, democracy and the rights of people. On the other side, also velayat al-faqih was accepted. So they are in contradiction to each other. The first person that understood this contradiction was Ayatollah Sayyid Kazem Shariat Madari. He was in the same level of Ayatollah Khomeini as Marja' al-Taqlid Shiite authority. He criticized this very molded, not so in a
not in an open way,
yes,
just mildly, yes.
He wrote an declaration. He said, "This is a problem. As soon as I cannot solve it, so I do not vote in support of this referendum on supporting this constitution." He was house arrested, and after 4 years, Unfortunately, he passed away.
Was he the only marja who was opposing it?
The only marja that openly criticized. We have others, but not the most famous, more famous like
But but
him.
but but these are just marjas in Iran.
This man,
I'm assuming in Iraq. In Iraq, all of them opposed
they
it.
did not. They did not. They were quiet. They were
Okay.
quiet. They did not say something. Also, the other Maraja supported this. Supported Ayatollah
Okay.
Golpay
So the majority of the Maraji supported it.
in Iran. Support
Yes.
many of the Maraja in Najaf were quiet. They did not say anything. And I want to say the vote of Iranians in the first referendum was 20 million on that time. The referendum of Iranian constitution decreased to 15 million. 5 millions, 25% was decreased. They
5 million people. So
5 million
25% was
people.
decreased.
Yes,
So
25% of
so
vote. This is in less than 1 year.
okay. So just so I understand this. So did 15 million out of 20 million people vote for the constitution? Or is it a case of the first referendum, 20 million people voted in
Yes.
favor of a constitution which did not have velayat-e in it?
20 millions
Okay.
voted to Islamic Republic in the first referendum. Few months later, about 10 months later, 15 millions, 5 millions less voted to the constitution.
Okay, so 20 million people. So what was the total electorate? How many people are voting in total?
20. I said
20.
20.
Okay, so basically everyone initially voted for the
Everyone,
Islamic
I think,
Republic.
supported Islamic Republic on that time, but 75% supported the constitution, including Velayatul Faqih. 20,
Okay.
25% less. And also, Ayatollah Khomeini balanced between rightists and leftists on his time. Balancer. He was a balancer. And he did not involve himself to detailed issues of the politics. He was old. He was so old on that time. And he was respected by all different, I think, uh, approaches Iran among Iranians. So and when he passed away, also I think he was supported by more than 70% of Iranians, at least.
Okay, so just before we move on and try to go into your critique of velayat-e and also the question I asked you about how it kind of changes the state, just because we're in this moment, what was the resistance and the crackdown against Khomeini in those first 2 years? You know, because I've read in many places that even a few months after the revolution, there was a crackdown. Now, can you give me a sense of what that crackdown entailed, who it was against, and how widespread it was?
It was not against him because on that time, I think we
No,
had.
I mean, when I say not against him, but he was, or the new state, the Islamic Revolutionary State, was carrying out a crackdown.
I will explain. So a few months after revolution, few months or few weeks, separatists, Marxist, ethnic groups, they abused those who were in the border of Iran and provinces in the border, especially Kurdistan. They started, we want to be separated, and military action against Iran on that time. It was the first, I think, bloody fight between Iranian soldiers and these separatists, that many of them were Marxists. And also they were from this ethnicity, also mostly among the Sunni Muslims, but not all of them, some of them. This is what we have the first in the few months of the revolution. After that, Saddam Hussein attacked Iran. And because of it, this is the situation of war. Freedom was restricted in the time of war. And for 8 years, I think most of the time of Ayatollah Khomeini was under this war. And in Iran, also, we have different groups, guerrilla groups, the people of Mujahideen, Sazman Mujahideen Khalq Iran. So also they started to fight against the new regime. They wanted to be shared, I think, share power. very clearly, and the government did not accept. After that, they started military action, also civil war in Tehran and other cities of Iran. Many of them were arrested and were executed in the jail too. Many people from both sides were killed. After that, they went to Iraq, supported Saddam Hussein, and attacked to Iran after ceasefire. Their leader, and many of them also were killed on that time. We have this. Among Marxist groups, many of them also started military, I think, fighting with Islamic Republic. Many of them were imprisoned or executed, and so on. So yes, we have this among all of these crackdown that you mentioned. Also, in 1988, at the end of the war, after ceasefire, so we have 3,000 to 4,000, I think, executions in the prisons of Iran because of they were suspected to support the people of Mujahideen, that they want to attack to Iran. And I wrote, and Ayatollah Montazeri also was against this and said it was irreligious, immoral, illegal, and you cannot do something like this. It happened in that time too. This is, I remember from the time of Ayatollah Khomeini.
Okay, so just to clarify, so it seems like the justification from the state was that this was a crackdown against separatists. In your view, was this a crackdown against separatists, or was it a crackdown against separatists but also against civil liberties?
I think against separatists. On that time, they started separatists and separatism. Also, many Muslim courts, Sunni courts, were against them. I mentioned the name of Ahmad Muftizadeh. He was a Sunni court leader of them. I wrote a very long article about him, in support of him, his criticism, and also his criticism on those separatists too. We need freedom. He said we need freedom, and also we need to have our governor, Sunni governor, court governor in those provinces. So this is something, but this is the place of challenge on that time, I can say. This is something happened. It means mixture of all of these issues, mixture of all of these elements that I mentioned.
Okay. I mean, I guess we can speak about this when it comes up, because I want to speak about Ali Khamenei and how he comes to power. And also, I mean, now his son has come to power, even though his ability to lead may be questionable because of his health. He's been attacked. But you've mentioned the war. Post the war, how does velayat-e faqih, manifest itself in the government? And how does it impact what Iran becomes? I guess this is a long answer, so maybe just start the answer, and then we can take a break and we can come back to it.
Yes. So I think we should separate Velayatul Faqih and Khamenei's administration. When Ayatollah Khomeini passed away, so something happened it's like a surgery he made in Iran before his death. So the Assembly of Experts chose Ayatollah Montazeri as his successor. He resigned illegally, because of disagreement between him and Montazeri, especially on human rights.
So just so I get the events correct, so Montazeri is elected by the Assembly of Experts, but he resigns.
Yes, it means that fired, not resigned. Sorry, fired by Ayatollah.
Okay, so he's fired by Khomeini. Okay, that makes the difference. So the Assembly of Experts elects Montazeri, but instead of accepting it, Khomeini fires him. And because Khomeini has popular support,
fired him, and after his death, so also it was close to the war, and Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani was the powerful vice president of that Assembly of Experts, and he was a kingmaker. It means that on that time, Khamenei was chosen by the Assembly of Experts as the second Iranian leader by effort of Hashemi Rafsanjani on that time. And some changes happened in Iranian constitution on the same days. I think the same days. It means that the condition for the leader, he should be faqih, he should be marja taqlid, he should be Shiite authority. So, and Muntaziri was, but they changed this condition. He should be mujtahid only, not marja taqlid. Marja taqlid means
So Khamenei was not a marja taqlid.
Was not. And also, he was not first ranking faqih too. Also, there are some suspicions about his ijtihad too. But he was a president on that time for about 8 years. Assembly of experts so focused on his presidency experience and ignored or did not take care about the condition of to be faqih on that time. It means that Islamic Republic chose to preserve the expediency of the regime more than the concept of velayat-e faqih. I want to say that after death of Ayatollah Khomeini, Iran was not governed by the theory of velayat-e faqih because there was not faqih in power. There was a clergy. But they said, okay, he was a faqih, but he was not in the level of Maraja Taqlid. Also, he claimed I'm Maraja Taqlid because of his political credit that he had. And he became, yes, but I wrote a book also criticizing him on this point. But he was in power for 37 years, and he, in contrast to Ayatollah Khomeini, he involved in detail on all of Iranian political issues. This is major difference between him and Ayatollah Khomeini. And the second difference was Ayatollah Khomeini was a balancer between rightists and leftists. His successor was not a balancer at all. Because of lack of charismatic. And second, lack of the high level of fiqh or religious jurisprudence and so on, he relied more on military forces, IRGC, Islamic Republic, the commanders of Revolutionary Guard. So it means that in his time, we have something like this. I can call this regime more than Velayatul Faqih or the guardian of the clergies. It was more authoritarian regime. Also, the difference between this authoritarian with other authoritarian regimes in the Persian Gulf or among Muslim majority countries, it was electoral authoritarian regime. The others were not also electoral, purely authoritarian regime. So we can call it Vilayatul Mu'minul Muqallid, not Vilayatul Faqih or Vilayatul Mujtahid. But there is no difference.
This is your own term, right?
Yes.
This is your way of explaining. Can you just translate that for us? Yeah.
Yes. This means guardianship of a believer that is not Shiite authority. He is himself in religious issues follower, muqallid of the mujtahid. But he called himself mujtahid. He has power, and it was accepted by power can do anything, can justify many religious issues too. And there is different. So, okay, in his time, the problem was we can find using theory of Velayatul Faqih. Also, he was not, according to my understanding, he was not qualified faqih, but the theory of Velayatul Faqih, and especially absolute Velayatul Faqih, was implemented.
Okay, so he used Velayat-e Faqih, but it didn't manifest as a system of Velayat-e Faqih.
Yes, and we have in his time, my criticism also, I published my books in criticism of theory of Velayatul Faqih. I could.
Did you publish these books while you were in Iran or after you
When
left
I was
Iran?
in Iran, when I was in
So you were free to write these books in Iran.
in the
I mean,
time
you
of,
eventually got
in the,
arrested.
yes, in the time of President Said Mohammad Khatami, reformist president, we have freedom. We have some type of freedom.
So this was from 97 until 2004.
Yes, it means that, yes, correctly. 8 years he was in power. In his time, we have free publication in the media and also in the book. I could not publish my books before him, but when he came to power, I published my first and second book. And after that, I went to prison. It means that criticism, the theory of velayat-e, I wrote it very respectfully to Ayatollah Khomeini, but I criticized him strongly in jurisprudential way. And my first book was about different theories of governance in Shia jurisprudence. I wanted to say that the theory of Ayatollah Khomeini is one of among 9. It's not the only Shia theory. We have diversity. It was not good for them because they wanted to say this is the unique theory of Shia jurisprudence. It was not.
So you go to jail, I think it's 1999 or
Yes,
2000?
yes.
But that's in the time of Khatami. So, I mean, so you can publish, but you still get arrested.
Yes, because president in Iran has not enough
He's
power
not got the judicial
everything.
power. Okay, no, so just to understand. So basically, so before 97, you wouldn't have been able to publish.
Yes,
So Khatami provides the freedom to publish, but under him, you still get arrested.
yes. But he could not do anything because judiciary
Yes, because
power
he
was
was,
under
yes,
the supreme leader and also hardliners and so on. So it means that...
Okay, so he allows you to publish, but the hardliners who have their own authority then get you arrested.
Yes, and also...
But if he wasn't the president, you wouldn't be able to even publish.
Correct.
Most likely.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It means...
No, I'm sorry, I'm just doing this so that we can understand the matrix of freedom and
also,
what's going on.
In his time, the parliament majority of the parliament were reformists too. It means in his time, we have 2 powers in Iran, presidency and also parliament.
Supreme leader.
Okay. But on the other hand, judiciary power and media, it means official media, governmental media, and the others were under the supreme leader and the hardliners. This is diversity that we have in Iran. I want to say in the time of Khamenei, we could choose 2, at least 2 or 3, 3 presidents that the leader disliked them. Because of it, we have somehow democracy in Iran. This is so important. In none of these, in Saudi Arabia, we do not have election at all. Any election, no election. In Qatar, no election. In Oman. So I want to say, and in Bahrain, and so on. So we have some type of democracy in Iran in the level that Iranian could elect Khatami, reformist president. Hassan Rouhani, moderate president. Masoud Pezeshkian, also weak reformist president, but reformist. So it means that, but also he imposed someone like Mahmoud Ahmadinejad or Ibrahim Raisi. And so this is something he tried to manipulate the elections in his time as much as he could. And the struggle of Iranians, we want to have a fair, free election. There is a guardian council in Iran, according to Iranian constitution, 6 jurists appointed by the leader, 6 lawyers elected by the parliament. But most of the power are in the hand of those 6 appointed jurists. They have the right to monitoring all elections. In the time of Khamenei, all elections, including presidential election, including parliament election, and also assembly of experts, it changed to 2 levels election. In the first round, they were selected by the Guardian Council. Second round, it was elected by the people. It means that he limited the choices of Iranians. So because of it, we have election, we have real election, but in a limited domain that was selected before him by his representative in Guardian Council. So I
Was it different when Khomeini was in charge? The elections?
somehow in implementation of this, yes, because he did not involve in details. I do not want to say absolutely he did not, but in this level he did not. We have
So when Khomeini was around, in terms of mayor elections and presidential elections, there wasn't a guardian council that said these are the people you can elect. Anyone could elect anyone.
in the first round of presidency, yes. Abul Hassan Bani Saad came to power. I think it was a free election. It was really free election. But after him, gradually, unfortunately, it was limited. Or the first parliament of Iran in the time of Khomeini, it was free election.
But Khamenei was also the president, right? So he was elected as the
Yes,
president.
yes,
So he was a popular figure among the people as well when
yes.
he was elected as
Yes.
president.
Also, he was Friday prior, and because the Iranian president on that time, Muhammad Ali Rajai, was assassinated by people of Mujahideen that I mentioned before, and also on that time we have Prime Minister Muhammad Jawad Bahonar assassinated. So on that time, in the other events, 72 Iranian governments were assassinated on one night. The head of
When was
judiciary.
this?
It was 1980 or 1981, yes.
So this was under Khomeini.
Yes, under Khomeini.
So Khomeini carried out these.
Yes.
So just clarify to me, how does Khamenei, not Khomeini, how does Khamenei become the president? Is he elected by popular vote?
He was elected by the vote, and also after assassination of Muhammad.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So basically, Khomeini does a crackdown, lots of people are killed, and there's a vacuum, and so he's elected, but it's not really an election because there's a vacuum.
On that time, I think it was an election, but on that time, competitive election did not happen in the time of Ayatollah Khomeini, only in the first round. Abul Hassan Bani Saad. The other elections were not competitive, but it was free. Not competitive.
Okay, I get it. So the first election is kind of free, but then Khomeini cracks down against that government. And in the second one, Khamenei gets elected.
It's not, I think, crackdown of Khomeini on that time because of assassination. It was in that atmosphere, it was natural that someone that were popular like Khamenei came to power. I'm fair. Presidency of Khamenei was not made by someone else. Something.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand this assassination of 72 people. Who I mean, this is a major thing. Like,
yes.
What's the theory on who was behind that?
People of Mujahideen, terrorist group.
Oh, okay. So these were the same people who Khomeini was cracking down on, the Mujahideen.
Yes, they were fighting against Islamic Republic.
Okay, so a separatist group assassinates 72 leaders, and in that aftermath, Khamenei gets elected.
It's also Khamenei was assassinated by them. They wanted to kill him too. They could not.
Oh, okay. So there was an attempt on his life as well.
Yes,
okay.
Attempt to assassination, and because of it, he was disabled hand, one of his hands. So it means that I want to say the people were in change. I do not, and also presidency of Khamenei on that time, the powerful man in a state was the prime minister, not the president, before in the time of Khomeini. And Khomeini supported the prime minister. And this prime minister, Mir Hossein Mousavi, now in his house arrest for 15 years. These are complexity of Iran.
Okay, so he was house arrested once Khamenei comes to power as the supreme leader.
Yes, after 2009 Green Movement,
he
elected, and according to him, also the election was manipulated by Khamenei in the time of Ahmadinejad. Ahmadinejad declared as a victory in that presidency, and most of the people, Iranians, thought that Mir Hossein Mousavi was elected by them. And now, after that, he He did not accept the result of the election, and he was house arrested by his wife for 15 years by prison.
Okay, thanks. This is all. I mean, you can see it's probably like there's a lot that's going on here to understand what's going on.
Yes, complex.
Okay, so I think. I mean, look. Do you want to take a break? Are you want to continue, or do you need to have a toilet break or some water?
If you want to have to write to finish to reach a chapter, yes, we can. Few minutes we can go, and after that we can have it.
No. I mean, I think the chapter is more or less closed because we can pick up the discussion with the chapter because it all flows into each other. So if you want to have a 2-minute break, let's take it now.
Okay.
And then we can pick this up at
10 minutes is 5.
At 20 past, I think. Okay, we've spoken a lot about how velayat-e faqih, not velayat-e faqih, but what you said, right? The theory you said that the theory of the follower who then builds a state, which is what Khamenei, and how Khamenei, more than Khomeini, has really built what Iran is in today. Now, during this war, at the very first day of the war, actually, the new war that's occurred, Khamenei was killed, and soon after, the Council of Experts voted Mujtaba Khamenei, who is his son. Now, obviously, it's still very early days, and there's still a war going on, and we may not know we don't know exactly the health that Mujtaba is in, or how long he will actually be in charge for. But can you just tell us a bit what's your reading from your understanding of who the likely successors would have been if there wasn't a war going on to Khamenei, because he was very old, Ali Khamenei. And so in your view, do you think Mujtaba has only been elected because there's a war? And also give us some insight into what kind of a supreme leader he will likely be and how he would differ from the other people who are likely to take that role.
There are many ambiguities here that we do not know. Not only me, but I think there is not enough knowledge about this position, what happened. First of all, I think assassination of leaders of a country is illegal. It's against international law. What Mossad, Israel, or US have done in Iran was completely illicit, illegal, immoral, irreligious, and so on. This is one point. I'm not happy that Khamenei was assassinated. Very clearly, it was wrong. So assassination in all situations is not acceptable. This is one. Second, so it was a ruming for about 20 years that there is a plan for successful successorship of his son, Mujtaba. He's the second son of Sayyid Ali Khamenei, not the first son. The first one, Mustafa, Sayyid Mustafa, he's not a political figure. The second is a political figure. And there was, as I told you, a lot of ruming that he has a plan to be his successor of his father. But, I think what happened here, this is the plan of President Trump and Netanyahu for changing the leadership of Iran. And they have done what they have done. This is one thing. And the other thing is this assembly of experts. We do not know the details of what they have done and how they elected and so on. Because the detail of their report of each meeting of this assembly of experts should be published. It's interesting, and those 2 days about Sayyid Ali Khamenei, election of Sayyid Ali Khamenei, were not published by President. Not published by President. It means also, I wrote many things, there is ambiguity of how he was elected, the father. Know about the son. I do not have any idea because I did not read that report and what happened there. What I can tell you, in the theory, I told you, we have velayatul faqih, we have velayatul mu'min al-muqallid. The third version is velayatul umara al-mustawli. Amir umara. It means commander. IRGC commander are the particular or umala. We have this theory in Sunni jurisprudence. In the time of Abbasid Caliph, Abbasid. So most of the times they were figurehead. Who were in power? Umara. From Al Buya, Ghaznavis, Seljuqis, Turks, and the other. They captured Baghdad, but they did not remove Caliphate. Caliphate was in power at the figurehead, but the real ruler of the Muslim land on that time was Commandos. And no, it happened among Shiites because we do not have any news about the situation of the third leader. He was a man of shadow. He was that. And after also election, he remained a man of shadow. We do not have any news about him. He was injured. The only thing, he was injured in the same day that his father, his wife, and many other members of his family were assassinated, unfortunately. And he was injured, and because of it, we do not have any photo, any video, or any audio after this from him. I cannot say one word about him, but I can say that who are in power in Iran, there is no faqih at all. There is no velayat-e. We have guardianship of the commanders of IRGC. And the powerful man in Iran after this assassination is Mohammad Baqir Ghalibaf. He's a friend of Mujtaba Khamenei, and no, he's in charge in Iran, and he's in negotiation and everywhere. I'm sure that I think he came to power by the consent of Mujtaba. But who is really ruling the country, IRGC or the son of Khamenei? I'm not sure about it, and we need more information about future. It's about theory and also about the practice. But the country is ruling no by IRGC.
Okay, where do you think figures like? I mean, we're going to get into. I'm just going to deal with this section because then I want to get your own views on sort of what a just leadership would mean and how to sort of achieve that practically in Iran. But before we go there, obviously, I think because of this war, but also before this war, because of this war, Arakchi has come to prominence as a person that many people are seeing on media. He's making a lot of statements. He's obviously an important figure. Pazeshkian, Laranjani was killed. Hassan Rouhani is someone else that's very important. What do you think are these their figures? Do you think how important are they? Do you think they need to answer to I forget his name, but you mentioned him now, the friend of Mujtaba Khamenei, or do you think they have some sort of leeway? What do you think is? I know this is very speculative, but what do you think is the dynamic at the moment? Because obviously, even within the ranks, it's probably quite confusing because there's been a massive vacuum of leadership due to all of the assassinations.
This is. It's noticeable to mention that two Iranian high-level negotiators were assassinated, Ali Larijani and Kamal Kharrazi. Both of them became moderate and negotiators. Unfortunately, Mossad and Israel negotiate every moderate Iranian negotiators. This is our problem. So this is one thing. And also, yes, Hassan Rouhani is a moderate former president, so he's supported by many Iranians. But in this situation, as I told you, in my understanding, IRGC appointed the son of Khamenei as the leader or figurehead. We do not have any evidence for this, that the real ruler of Iran is the commander of IRGC or the real ruler is Mujtaba Khamenei. But I do not have any evidence for both sides. But in practice, the country is ruling by IRGC commanders. All of these, Ghalibaf, Zulqad, Wahidi, all of them are IRGC commanders.
Okay. I want to now, if you want to, in your answer, if you want to deconstruct more, because, you mentioned that we've discussed a lot of politics, but not necessarily more theory. So if you want to deconstruct further your criticisms of velayat-e faqih, that's fine. But my actual question isn't about that. My question is, in your view, given the from a theological perspective, from your learnings and your study as a mujtahid, what would be a practical but also an idealistic, not like a realistic but positive way to actually develop governance in Muslim societies in today's nation-state era, but also specifically for Iran. So you can speak generally because, governance is not specific to Iran, but also specifically for Iran, given its complexity, given its legacy of now the revolution. We can't necessarily go into the legacy of what this war will mean, because I think that's beyond the scope of us actually generating a theory. That's exceptionally speculative. But just what would be your sort of realistic idea on how we develop a theory of leadership which is better and more sound?
So it's a very large question and also important question on the other side. We have problem of leadership everywhere. I think political theory did not work well. Neither Western political theory, liberal democracy, for example, what we have in US here, when all these Congress, Senate, and Supreme Court and President are from the same party. So who will monitor the Constitution? No one. So it means that this is deficiency of this governance and this political system here. Also, European Union. So in these issues that happened in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Iran, they were quiet. Also, they did not support Trump, but also did not support Palestinian, Lebanese, or Iranians. This is, I think, we do not have just governance in the West. In Islamic land, in majority Muslim countries that we have, the ratio of democracy is so low. All of us, we are in the lowest ranking of democracy and human rights. All of these countries, this is crisis in all of our lands. But we have, I think, another problem in Muslim majority countries. This is the problem of sovereignty, problem of political independence in practice. So this is something, when we compare in Iran, we should mention this. Most of these countries are US allies. They are not elected by their people, really. They are not representative their people. If we have fair, competitive, and free elections in most of these countries, I'm sure that most of these countries were ruled by different rulers. Many of them came to power because they are supported by US or by UK, something like Bahrain. Or unfortunately, what is happening in AUE, in Emirat. We have many problems there in these countries. These countries, most of these countries are not democratic countries, and also not really deep independent countries. I want to say this sovereignty is so important. It's on one side. On the other side, we have general theory of democracy. So which of these countries are democratic? When I wanted in my classes to give examples about democracy in Muslim majority countries, sometimes I said Turkey, sometimes I say Tunisia, sometimes I said in those special times in Iran and Indonesia. What happened in all of these countries? Which of them are democratic now? I was in Tunisia several months ago. One of the best Arab countries, I think, in spring movement that we have in Arab Springs that in these countries. But the coup happened after that. In Turkey, we have something else. So I want to say this is a problem that we should think about it. We need something. But in the case of Iran, I think that I compare it to say that this is not only a problem of Iran, and when say we have a struggling for democracy and human rights and rule of law and freedom and so on, we have the same problem in most of other Muslim majority countries too. It's not only unique to Iran. But in the case of Iran, Iran experienced two revolutions in less than 80 years, 1906, 1979. And after that, both of them struggling, seeking for justice, freedom, rule of law. But we are much how I can say we have something of this, all of this, but this is not ideal. We need much, much more. The problem in Iran is Iranian citizens struggle for more democracy, more freedom, more rule of law. And they're qualified for this. They need it. This is what we try to do. So in many of these interviews that I made, I was asked the same question. I say, we need a referendum. We need a referendum after the war. I can say we can have 4 options. First, continuity of Islamic Republic with the absolute velayat-e, the same as what it has in power. I do not think that majority of Iranians at this time support this. Maybe about 20%. The second one is returning to the Constitution of 1906. So it means constitutional monarchy. Its representative today is the son of Shah. And the son of Shah is the puppet of Netanyahu. Also, President Trump does not acknowledge him. This is something I'm sure he does not have any role in the future of Iran. This is the second one, but it could be an option in the referendum too. The third one, and this is something new, returning to the first draft of Islamic Republic, that it was without velayat-e. It means Islamic Republic without velayat-e. And it means it was not practiced at all. And we can say this is the third option. It was called democratic religious governance. Democratic religious governance or democratic Islamic governance. But this is not velayat-e. The ruling, it's based on Sharia, something like this. There will be a president, parliament, everything this without velayat-e is the third option. I think many Iranian reformists and also religious persons who practice religion maybe support this one. This is the third option. The fourth option is secular democratic republic state. It means that we have democracy, we will have also, it will be secular, separation of religious institution from the state. But also, it was a republic country, republic system. I think this supported by many elites, many also citizens, including me. And since 2009, I supported this. Before that, I supported the third option, means that Islamic Republic without velayat-e. But after that, I reached to this one. And now I want to say competition will be between the third option and the fourth option.
Why did you? What made you change your mind in 2009? I mean, was it just the events of the Green Movement, or was it something more profound?
Political theory, I will explain it more, that Islam does not have exclusive one political theory. Not only Islam, not other religions or other traditions. This is between experience, check and balance, and after that reach to a conclusion. We want to say that, okay, we can have, some of my friends, they wrote, we can have something like monarchy in United Kingdom. We have king, we have queen, but they're figurehead. These are symbolic. They said, okay, velayat-e in Iran could be something like that, symbolic. Also, I mentioned it became symbolic, but not by something else. But my understanding, it's not possible to be figurehead, because if they will be in power, they will have absolute power because of many different items. I can explain in detail what happened to me after, I think, checking all of these types of governance in different countries. Religion was not came for politics. Religion came for giving us the meaning of life, ethics and morality. and the meaning of the God, next life, and also unseen world, and a peaceful living. If we want to go in the detail of politics, this is not the job of any religion at all, including Islam. So if we want to, I think, make political Islam or try to derive a political theory from Islamic teaching, from the Quran or from the Sunnah, I think this is wrong way, completely wrong way. The experience of Ayatollah Khomeini is the best experience for me. He taught in the beginning that through jurisprudence, fiqh, he can solve political problems. He reached, it's impossible. And later, he reached to use expediency of regime, al-maslaha. Exactly, we have the same thing in Sunni fiqh too. When we welcome to expediency of regime, this is the gate of secularization of the state. This is not something we can do in fiqh. Fiqh is not the knowledge for this. This is about something else. So when we talk about politics, means know and hear. Religion is so broader, so larger. So this is not the job of, not about economic, not about politics, not about all of these, I think, worldly issues. We need use our reason and human experience in this way. This is not political way. Among Sunni brothers and sisters, we have the same thing. We have among Ikhwan al-Muslimin, we have them because it has many branches. Also in different countries, they are experiencing the same issue, the same subject. So it means using Islam, political version of Islam. I think it does not work. But on the other side, accepting oppression is it's against Islamic teaching too. I want to say that the system of governance is not religious at all. It's in essence, it's secular. My point is this. Also, I reached to this experience after several decades reading, writing, and researching, and also observing experience what happened in Iran and other countries. I reached that this is the best way of supporting religiosity, spirituality, and also politics, both times.
Okay,
Both.
so I mean, just so you're saying a secular democracy that's obviously fair and equitable would be the best Islamic solution. Just so I
I do
understand.
not call it Islamic solution.
Okay, it's the
This
best.
is
It's the best, most practical way to.
the best practical way for Muslims. When we say Islamic means something came from the
Okay,
Quran
I
and
understand.
Sunnah.
So it's the best.
It's not from
So it's the
Islamic
best
religion.
practical way for Muslim societies and non-Muslim societies, right?
Yes.
Now, obviously, I mean, you mentioned that there's been a problem with representation in most of the Muslim world. It's absolutely true. A lot of them are, either dictatorships or autocracies or monarchies that are autocratic, and a lot of the leaders are often backed by U.S. power or other imperial power. And that's obviously an issue, and obviously more representative rights in any form would be good. In Iran, you have your own set of problems where you had a dictatorship which was US backed, and now you have a theocracy which has become authoritarian and usurped, in your own words, and I mean in my observation as well, usurped Islamic tradition. Now, where do you think, and this is a bit of a tangential question, but it's important because you mentioned Ikhwan al-Muslimin and you mentioned political Islam. Now, I, in my own understanding of political Islam and speaking to political Islamists, not all of them have come to that conclusion, the one you have, where that secular democracy is probably the best thing for Muslim societies and for Muslims in non-Muslim societies. What do you think the failure of political Islam has been in terms of understanding that? And many people who I'm assuming would disagree with you, I mean, not like in a personal way, but just in an academic, way, would say that the failure hasn't been political Islam, but the failure has been, the human failings of Islamist movements, and the fact that we have leaders who are bad, or we have groups that were bad, or we've been cracked down, or we had bad dictators. I mean, I've had these debates as well. I'm sure you have. So their argument usually isn't that the problem is political Islam. The argument is we haven't been able to actualize political Islam. what would be your response to that?
Political Islam has different meanings. This is a spectrum of meanings. If I want to say one mention, because there was many articles, books were written on this, Westerners use political Islam against quietist Islam. I do not support this division. When I said political Islam, I mean abusing Islam in politics, using Islam as an instrument, as a tool for political aims. This is my understanding. This is wrong. It means this is not acceptable. But I do not say separating politics and religion. Very precisely, I say separating religious institution from the state, not from politics. It's impossible in any countries, Western or Eastern, to separate politics from religion. Also in the US, in the time of election, when they want to, both parties came about abortion. They got something about the church and also Catholic, Protestants teaching about the rights of the human rights and so on. In the case of abortion, use political issues. Also, look at Trump, also used religious language, Christian language. When Pope said, this is not correct, also two types of understanding of Christianity. This is, I want to say, we cannot separate politics from religion. It's impossible. But we can separate religious institution from the state. Means two separate of two different institutions. They have different functions. The function of jurisprudence, the function of seminaries, the function of the mosques or clergy are something. The function of politics and political persons are something else. I want to differentiate between the function of these two. The best function for both religion and politics to separate this institution from that institution, the state. This is my point. And after that, in these countries that you mentioned, we have problems everywhere in all of these countries. And everything depends on, this is not only about the rulers. I understand democracy has a lot of deficiencies. It means a lot of shortcomings. But also its efficiency is above all known types of governance. Because of it, we accept democracy. It means that consent of the citizens, returning to the votes of the citizens. This is the best way that we can support it. Also, what we have in Islam, in the case of Shura consultation, support this. They are not the same, but I can say it support that. And what we can find in Islamic teaching, I want to say we are Muslims. Our societies, our communities, our countries should observe Islamic ethics. Islamic ethics is universal, is implementable always, everywhere. This is different from law, Islamic or non-Islamic. Law are time-bounded, everywhere, in all traditions. Do not try to, when we say we want to be Islamic, this is Sharia. And what is Sharia? Islamic law. What is Islamic law? What we have, for example, 10 centuries ago, 12 centuries ago. Okay, it does not work today. Most of it. I'm not talking about ibadat. I'm not talking about worships. I'm talking about mu'amalat, human interactions, criminal law, or something like this. So these are something it should be made by the parliaments, by the consent of the people, and all scholars of each of these fields, scholars of law, lawyers, and so on. This is not something we can say because this was mentioned in our jurisprudence fiqh, and we need some faqih here. Okay, faqih is good only for fiqh, for jurisprudence, not for politics or financial issues or administration. This is my point. And fortunately, it was supported by some Muslim jurists, Sunni and Shiite, both. I think we should highlight them. And when we differentiate between this, after that, we can improve. What's the difficulty for us? We have good scholars in many of these countries. We need something, some freedom. Freedom, and after that, returning to ourselves. And if we have sovereignty, independence, freedom, I think we can improve. This is my point. And Iran has this capacity. Maybe the leading countries among Muslim countries, it has this capacity. I'm sure the other countries has this capacity too, and we should actualize this potentiality that we have in our elites, in our seminaries, in our universities, in our communities. This is my point.
Okay, you seem to be very optimistic about the potential of Iran at a time when it's quite pessimistic, because a lot of Iran has taken a lot of damage in this war from an infrastructure perspective. A lot of bridges, a lot of power plants, a lot of energy. All of these things have been destroyed, and I'm sure you're worried as well in terms of what may come next, in terms of what will be the leadership of Iran, in terms of when if this war ends soon, and if it ends. You mentioned the referendum, and I can see why that's a theoretical sort of framework. What do you think is a way? And this is a very difficult and open-ended question. It's one of my last three, just so you know that there's two more after these. But what's sort of a practical way that Iranians now, or people like you in exile, can work for a healthier Iranian society, or to actualize that wonderful vision you spoke about just a few minutes ago?
I think this is hard way. First of all, this is not easy one, but this is possible, completely possible. I think that we will, one example, practical example, in 2023, we have a movement, social movement in Iran in the name of freedom, woman and life. You remember this. The demand, this is more maybe the most powerful feministic movement in the world. Feministic. It was started by young women. Their demand was freedom of headscarf, a style of life, wearing of the clothes. What happened? They imposed their demand to the conservative governments, to the hardliner governments. If you travel to Tehran, to Iran, there is the same as other Muslim cities in the world. You can find women without headscarf, with headscarf, both in the cities. And the governments, the moral police cannot do anything. Also, they did not like it. I want to say that when the majority of a country emphasize on something, they can impose their decision to the hardliners government like Iranian. When it's possible, I mentioned the same point to President Pezeshkian. When he wanted me, he came to New York for the UN meeting, and I had a meeting with him by his invitation. So I talked with him more than 1 hour. I mentioned this. This was possible. Everything else is possible too. Prepare this situation for listening to the demands of Iranian. So it means, what's the demand? First of all, freedom. According to this constitution also, freedom of the media. This is the first one. Also, stopping house arrest. Stopping what this political imprisonment. So these are something that is not possible. And also free election for the parliament. Starting this, not limited, restricted by guardian council. Competitive, fair, free election by the parliament. And after that, we can have a referendum. Why? Why because I'm telling you, this is ruling of a hardliner minority on majority that disagree with them. They cannot continue. They cannot continue. This is something about between 80% to 85%. So the people are not happy with their governments. But this does not mean they want to welcome to Trump or Netanyahu. Never ever. Also, Iranian was so clever when they want to say, when Trump said, I will bomb, destroy your bridge, your instruction, and so on. Iranian family, women, children, men came to the bridge. Okay, you want to bomb this? You should start with us. Also, they are not happy with their governments, but they're defending their country. This is why I'm so optimistic about this. I hope, so optimistic, I think that future belongs to Iranians. And this government should follow their people, the consent of the people, the opinion of the people. So this is my understanding, and we will impose this, the same as our young women, impose their demand to these hardliner governments.
Excellent. I really, I mean, that would have been a good note to leave this on, but I have two questions more, so we'll go with those.
Yes, please.
What do you think? I mean, when people look at Iran, and you obviously, you're at Duke University, you've been living in the US now for more than a decade. When you hear experts speak on Iran, from an Islamic perspective or from a secular perspective, or good experts or bad experts, right? People with knowledge, or people, who, maybe you don't have to comment on people with no knowledge, but what do we outside of Iran, who aren't from Iran, what do we generally get wrong about Iran? In your analysis, from what you've been seeing and hearing in the media and from other people, who you may speak to, who are knowledgeable at university or elsewhere?
So we have diversity among Iranians in diaspora. First, many of them, we have about more than 7 million Iranians in diaspora. We have different waves of immigration. In 1979, after that, in the time of Ahmadinejad, and later, 3 waves. They are different. Many of them, I do not have any statistics on this issue. They do not like the regime in power in Iran. Some of them support the constitutional monarchy. Also, they welcome, as President Trump mentioned, they welcome to bombardment of the country for removing Islamic Republic with any price. This is wrong in my understanding. Anyone who supported this is betrayal. No one can accept to ruin restriction of the country because we want to remove this or that regime. Very clearly, if it was not Islamic Republic, it was constitutional monarch before constitution. Some words like this happened in Iran. I supported Iranian military service on that time too. It does not depend to this or that regime, theocratic, democratic, secular, or something else. This is the story of Iran, soil of Iran, integrity of the country. Any Iranian should be so, I think, consider this point. Please pay attention. Hate to this regime should not allow you to ignore the soil of Iran, integrity of Iran, and instruction of Iran. So this is something we should be careful about it. I think this is completely wrong. But fortunately, most of Iranian elites, professors, or actors, and so on, they supported their country, the integrity of their country. Also, they have problem with the regime, but they do not have the problem with their land, homeland. This is also positive issues. We have many good scholars. If I think we have freedom, I think many of them will return to Iran. And we have the best scholars, and we will start to renew Iran. Also, with all of these, yes, we have a lot of I think, casualties. We have a lot of damages happened by this war, but we can rebuild it, and we will have a free Iran with renewed of all of these problems that we have. This is possible. And I'm also, in this case, unoptimistic. It's not religious optimism. This is more, I think, pragmatic optimism, that I read the history, and this is a short window. And this is so soon we can go forward and we have a better situation in Iran.
Okay. Again, I appreciate your optimism and going there. I want to get your final thoughts, but also wrapped up in this question. We don't know if the war will end. I'm sure you're hoping, like most people watching this, like I think most of the world's population are, is that it will end soon. And you definitely, I was going to ask you, if you're hopeful that in your lifetime you'll return to a free Iran. I'm guessing the answer is yes, just based on your previous answer. But given that this war is going on, given that this war will most likely, if it goes on for longer, it will further empower, nefarious actors in Iran. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it may do that, and then suddenly there's a shift. But usually that's the trend. How fearful are you that the war is going to kind of derail that optimism and that plans and that those hopes that you have that in your lifetime you'll be able to return to a free Iran?
As you mentioned, all of us are so hopeful about end of the war, but it has its, I think, enemies too. The first enemy of peace is Israel. The first enemy of Israel and peaceful Middle East. Israel does not bear any independent, powerful Islamic country in the region. Regardless, it is Iran, this is Pakistan, or this is Turkey, or any other independent country. They said very frankly said, after Iran, this is the time of Pakistan, this is the time of Turkey. So they're very frank to say, we will throw this or that. I do not understand in which world we are living. Yes, I'm fearful about is illegal, anti-international law, anti any humanitarian rights, that this regime is this. What did they do in Gaza? Destroy everything. They introduce us as Amalek, or in Arabic, Amaleqa. They said this is biblical authoritic notion that this is against Israelite. After that, we are allowed to kill the man, the woman, the children, the babies, the animals, the planets, and ruin, fire, everything. What they have done in Gaza exactly was this. And they say we are secular country, but also who are in power are ultra-conservative Jews, Zionists, not Jews. Progressive Jews are against them. Bernie Sanders in Senate is Jew, but progressive. He was so critical against them. And I have many progressive Jewish friends, and they are against this. I want to say this is not anything about Judaism, but this is against Zionism. This is against Zionism. Unfortunately, more than 92% of Jews in Israel support what they have done in Gaza and what they have done in Iran. So this is a very big question. What are you doing? This is against humanity. So Israel is against humanity, against peace, peaceful world. So this is one. The second fear is about stupid, I think, presidency administration of Trump. This is not only me. Many Americans, more than 63% of Americans, are against his administration. What he has done against Iran, against Venezuela, against Cuba, against Greenland, against many others, every night he woke up, and after that in the morning, he says something different. Every day, in each few hours, he changed his mind. So I'm afraid. What is his decision? Who want to stop him? I hope that in November, that there is an election here. Democrats can dominate in Senate, Congress, and stop him. Impeachment and also trial of him. as a crime war. So this is a crime war happened. So this is the second one. And the third, I think, among these so-called Muslim majority countries in Persian Gulf. Unfortunately, they did not have good role in the region. They support something that was against Muslim majority benefits and expediency. So when they support, so some of them were called the representative of Israel in the Gulf. You know what I mean. The others were had ally. What do American bases do in several thousand miles far from the United States? What do we need to them? We do not need them. If we want to have a peaceful region, Middle East, it should be without any US bases. Iran is a good friend of all of these Muslim Arab countries in Persian Gulf, but without these American bases. These are the major causes, reasons for war in the region. We can deal with each other, and I do not say that Iranian did not make any mistake, but we can have a good friend with each other. This is the third one, and in future, we should think about what is the expediency of all of these peoples. This is number one. I criticize Iranian government's expediency of Iranians are prior to anything else. Anything else. Start with this. If it remains some money, after that think about other oppressed movements. But first of all, you should think about Iranians. They did not. It means I have some criticism on this point too. But on the other side, I'm asking our Muslim Arab neighbors, what did you do practically in support of justice in Gaza? Really, what did they do? If you have done something, we cannot see this ruined Gaza that we are seeing. This is against humanity. What did you do? At the same time, you pay a gift in $400 million as an airplane gift to the president. What he has done in Gaza in support of all of these taxes that came at the bomb to kill more than 70,000 innocent people, that most of them were children and women in Gaza. What are you doing? And you are guilty. Very clearly, you are guilty. So this is something that I want to say, that first of all, we should start, say, Jamaluddin al-Afghani, that we called, most Iranians called him Asadabadi. He said, our first enemies in the king palace, king courts. Unfortunately, he was correct. We should start reform with our governance in all of these dependent countries who had ally with the US, UK, or Israel. After that, we have freedom. We have better world. We have peaceful world. And we can do something for our people. This is my very abstract point that I want to tell you.
Professor Mohsen Kadivar, thank you very much. It's my first time speaking to a mujtahid or an Ayatollah, and you haven't disappointed at all. Thank you for your time, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much for your patience and your good questions. And also, I do not call Ayatollah or anything. Mohsen Kadivar, I think this is better. We do not want to play with any titles. This is what I have done in my life. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mohsen.